A little longer. There it is. Hey, it is 10:03 this morning, Friday, March 1st. Boogie with the Bull Friday morning caffeine. With us, co-host Randy Rhodes, and always special guest Bill Muckler, a very, very smart, intelligent, I don't know how many other words I could add to it, man, who always has commentary that you should listen to. Today we talk about Red Friday. Remember everyone deployed Friday. Bill is the one who has taught most of us Facebook broadcasters about this in the last few years. And you can see that he is dressed in red and he's wearing a red hat. So make sure we all ask him, what is the purpose of the red hat? Go ahead, Bill.
Well, thank you, Dave. Good morning, and good morning, Randy, and all the viewers. I'm wearing a hat because I'm tired of looking at my head, and maybe everybody else is looking at it, so I thought I'd wear a hat. And I wear different hats, but on Friday I got to wear this red hat.
But isn't the proper word cover?
What?
Isn't the proper word cover?
In the Marine Corps, if I'm in the Marine Corps and I'm on active duty and I've got my uniform on, that is a cover. You're right. Absolutely. That's what it's known as a cover. Here's another thing. In the Marine Corps, we have a little bit different policies or traditions or whatever. In the Marine Corps, if you're outside, you will be covered. There's no question about it. You will be covered. If you are inside, you will not be covered. So you don't have any kind of a cap or hat or what cover on inside unless you are armed. If you are armed, then you will be covered.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when I handled classified material when I was on active duty, I strapped on my 45, my M1 A1 45, and I was covered. And so that's that. Remember everyone deployed. Boy, I'm really concerned right now because we've seen this year so far, we've already lost that we know of at least 10, 2 Navy SEALs out in the Gulf of Aden, I believe it was, and then 3 Army personnel over in that kind of corner of Jordan and Syria and Iraq, where they were stationed at some kind of a supply base or whatever it was. And then we lost 5 Marines in a helicopter accident, and that was not actually overseas. But right now we're at a point where, in a sense, everybody in the armed services, as far as I'm concerned, are deployed, because you can be here today and this morning and this afternoon, you're on your way to someplace in Africa or the Mideast or wherever. So everybody, and they're not telling us anything. But I think that we're probably on pretty heightened alert, and whatever DEFCON they want to tell us, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, that's all stuff that they make up, because it used to be important. Now it's all political. So everybody, in a sense, is deployed. So I want us to remember all the service people who are young men and women who are actually deployed overseas or who are getting ready to be deployed. And so I got thinking about it, because I know Dave was going to ask me about this and everything. I was born in 1935. So let me give you something, Dave, that you're going to this is going to blow your mind. The Civil War was over 70 years when I was born, 1935. So 1865 to 1935. 70 years, I was born 70 years after the Civil War was over. There were still Civil War veterans that I remember when I was young, when I was a young guy. Now, Pearl Harbor, for example, if we think of Pearl Harbor, the attack on the Hawaiian Islands in 1941. So how many years ago was that? 83 years ago? We've got just a handful of veterans left from World War II. I think it's less. It might be less than 1,000 now. And some of them are passing away or leaving us practically every day. One of my neighbors is exactly 10 years older than me. He was in the he served in Europe. He was in the Army Air Corps in the 8th Air Corps, which had more casualties than any other unit in World War II. Suffered like 60,000 casualties. Those are the guys that flew the B-17s and then the B-29s, from England to bomb. Strategic targets, in Germany or wherever the heck they did. So anyway, he's a good buddy of mine. We have lunch together and we play bridge. He plays bridge and he's really good. He wins sometimes. I won this past week, so that was pretty. That was a pretty good night for me. So anyway, I've had. There's no mucklers that I know of that are on active duty or deployed right now, which is really kind of unusual because if we go back to more than 100 years ago, my grandfather was born in 1861 on my mom's side in Germantown, Illinois. And so that was the year that the Civil War started. So my grandfather never was in the service because he was just about 40 years old when the Spanish-American War came on. He was almost 60 when World War I and around 80 in World War II. But my mom was an only girl. She had 10 brothers. So 4 of her brothers, older brothers, served in the Army in Europe in World War I. Got it? In World War II, 4 of her younger brothers served in Europe in the Army. One was in the Army Air Corps in World War II. So I got thinking, people say they're from a military family, and I never thought that we were a military family. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. A lot of us were in the military one time or another. My first cousin, Rob Muckler, I remember this so well. He was older than me. I remember I was just heartbroken when he left to go in the Navy, and that was 1942. And, I was like 7 years old, and Rob, is going to be gone, and we don't know when he's coming back. And I'm thinking, boy, this is not good. He served in the Pacific in the Navy throughout World War II. Finally got back home late in 1945. Back then, a lot of our servicemen and women, they didn't get released from active duty immediately. Some of them, it took a while because this was really a huge logistical problem for the United States because the United States had a population of somewhere around 150 million or so people. We had 15 to 16 million that were on active duty at one time or another during World War II. So when the war is over, how do you process out 15 million people? 15 million servicemen. And so, I wrote some articles on this, and they had patches that they wore. So when they came back on their uniforms, so they could ride on the trains, because people didn't ride on planes back then. They were talking 1945. So it took until about 1947 before the armed forces were actually down to kind of like a peacetime strength from a wartime strength. Of course, we had people that stayed. And I don't like the word occupied, but occupied in Germany and France and England and Italy and so forth, and then also in Japan, in the Pacific Theater. Most of that was all Army. The Air Force really didn't get started until 1948. It was the Army Air Corps became the United States Air Force, and there was a big change in the Department of Defense. It used to be called the Department of War, and then they decided they would call it the Department of Defense. It's all political stuff going on. But anyway, that's kind of what happened in that. So in the 1940s, I had a lot of relatives that were in the service. In 1950s, I was in the service, 1950s and 60s. My brother went in I think 69 and 72 or something like that. So now we got somebody in the 70s. My cousin Dan, who passed away a few years ago, he was in the Marine Corps for 4 years in the early 80s. And then my brother's oldest son, Matt, he was in the Army and stationed over in Germany mostly in the 90s. That was kind of the end of the Cold War. And then my son went in 99 through 2006. So it's just been recently that none of us have been on active duty or deployed. So that's kind of a thing I was just thinking about. And our family was really pretty fortunate because we didn't suffer any casualties. Boy, just think about, what was the name of was it the Kellys or whatever on that ship in World War II? 5 brothers were on the same ship that sunk. 5 brothers. The O'Sullivans, I think their name was. I knew it was somebody.
Is that the family that the movie was made about concerning the it was a Saving Private Ryan, I think it was, where they went and had to find the one soldier because his brothers were all killed?
The O'Sullivan brothers were in Navy, and they were all stationed on the same ship, and it was like 1943. It was torpedoed. The ship was sunk. They were the whole family. I think they were from Iowa. Were all 5 brothers were killed at the same time. So it was about that time when they started realizing, hey, we better not have brothers, in the same place at the same time and so forth. Saving Private Ryan they had to do with 1944, the invasion of D-Day, Normandy invasion, where supposedly, there was 2 brothers, and so they wanted to find the one brother and bring him back. And I guess there's some truth to that story, although I'm sure that the way the movie's great movie, really enjoyed it, and I'm sure there was a lot of truth to it. But yeah, what they were trying to do is they were going to try and find this one guy, Private Ryan, bring him back out of the combat zone, so there wouldn't be 2 brothers in the same combat zone.
Yeah, when you think about it, for a nation's military to have that much integrity, that much loyalty to the family unit, that they would actually start putting into place rules stating that, like you're saying, brothers can't serve at the same time, same place, same ship, same boat, whatever. But at the same time, to keep an eyeball on as they're dying or being injured to make sure that there's at least one who survives, because to to continue the family lineage. I mean, I don't know of any other nation that does that.
I don't either, and I guess it's all part of a nation evolving and maturing, and in a sense, kind of growing up and learning, because we started out in 1776, at war, Revolutionary War, but I don't think that our nation was founded as a military country that was going to be a warring country. We were at wars because we had to be to protect ourselves. So a lot of these things, I guess, you had to learn, and in a lot of cases, communications weren't all that great. So I would imagine, like in the Revolutionary War, they probably didn't know who was who was related to who from one unit to another unit. Maybe somebody was in Virginia and somebody was in Massachusetts. That they, how would they know? It wasn't until World War II probably that we started learning those types of things. Now,
yeah, because
I'm going to give you an exception to this, and there is proof positive of this. One of my very close friends, who's a Marine by the name of Jerry Byrne from New York, went into the Marine Corps in the 1960s, went to Parris Island with his twin brother. The two of them went in, and they went to Parris Island. Their older brother was in the Marine Corps and a younger brother in the Marine Corps. But these two brothers went to Parris Island. They were in the same platoon, the same unit and everything in boot camp in the Marine Corps. But then when they left there, then from there you go to ITR, Infantry Training Regiment, and you go to specialized training, and some stay in the infantry, some maybe go to radio school or whatever. So anyway, then the two brothers were separated, but in Vietnam, and there's a picture of this on the cover of a book that my friend Jerry Byrne wrote, where it shows he and his twin brother in Vietnam meeting up with each other, and the photo was taken of them standing in the same place, and their older brother was also in Vietnam at the same time. So fortunately, none of them were killed, and Jerry lost his twin brother in I think 1999 when from what we believe was Agent Orange. So that was kind of a killer. Now we see all these ads on TV about Camp Lejeune drinking water and everything, which I guess was pretty bad. I was never stationed at Camp Lejeune in North. I never was stationed in any of the Carolinas. I was in Quantico, Virginia, and I was also at Tyndall Air Force Base in Panama City, Florida. Went to an air defense school with the Air Force there for about 6 months. But most of my time was all overseas, Hawaii, Okinawa, and other places for short periods of time. So that's my Red Friday story and my military history story. Now, what's your next question, Dave? Dave wanted to know about my hat.
I want to know about your hat, Bill.
Want to know about the hat?
I want to know about the hat.
In September 1953, I'm a freshman enrolled at the University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri. I graduated from high school in May of '53, and that was the last month of the Korean War. Everybody in high school back then, we saw the guys that graduated in 1951. They all went to Korea, the Korean conflict, Korean War, whatever you want to call it. We saw all the guys that we knew that graduated in 1952. Where'd they go? They all went to Korea. So here we are. We're class of 53. And you know where we're going? We're going to Korea. But the Korean conflict is decided to be over in May of 53, the same month that we graduate. So my dad, his father passed away when he was in third grade. He had to quit school and go to work. He and his older brother to support the family. He had 3 younger siblings. So my dad says to me, nobody in our family's ever been to college. You're going to be the first one. You're going to college. So off I go from St. Louis, Missouri to 120 miles west. Columbia, Missouri. I enroll in the University of Missouri, and I knew some guys that were there before me from my high school and so forth. So I joined this fraternity. It was a Catholic fraternity, and I thought, you know, a young Catholic boy like myself, you know, I should do something to stick with my religion and everything. So I became a fraternity boy. I was a college boy. And as you are enrolled and you become a student, you meet other people than the ones who you're living with in the fraternity. And one guy I met, of many or of some, was a guy by the name of Dave Vest. And somehow Dave was in a different fraternity a few blocks away from where I lived. But somehow we just really hit it off. We just became good friends. We weren't best friends. We were in different fraternities. But, you know, we'd see each other. We'd have a beer together. I remember going over to his fraternity house, and we were sitting down in the chapter room that they had in their kind of basement. And we'd talk about, you know, different books and things like discuss H.L. Mencken and, you know, doing crazy stuff like that. So anyway, we were really good friends, Dave Best and I. Smart guy, very intelligent, fairly good athlete. I guess he was about 6'3". So he graduates in May or June of 1957. I don't graduate because I changed my major about 3 times. I wasn't the greatest student every semester, so I'm there for an extra half a year. I don't graduate until January of 58. But in the summer of 57, when I should have graduated, I actually got called by the Selective Service Administration to take my pre-induction physical for the Army. Everybody back then had to register for the draft, and everybody was drafted, or just about everybody was. Some people, you know, slipped through or got the deferments or whatever. So I go and I go there and I go through spend the day, you know, in my skivvies, and go through this whole physical exam, and at the end of it, they say, "Well, we're ready to sign you up to join the Army." And I said, "No, I got another semester. I gotta graduate from college. My dad sent me to college. I can't join yet." So I got a deferment, and you could apply for a deferment. I got a deferment for 6 months. So I graduate January of 58. I leave Columbia, come back to Missouri, back to St. Louis, Missouri. And that afternoon I got back. I drove down to the Selective Service office, and I walked up to the counter, and a gentleman there says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yes, I'm so-and-so. I took my pre-induction physical last summer, and my deferment, I believe, is about up. And I was just wondering what my status was." He said, we can answer that. So he goes and he pulls out this long file drawer. It's got like, I don't know, 3x5 or 4x6 cards in there. And he says, "Oh, you're number 1 for February." And I'm thinking, oh, you know, Now I'm going to get drafted, and I'm 22 years old, and I'm going to have to go in the Army for 2 years, and I'm going to be in the Army, and I kind of know what all this is all about. We're a bunch of 18-year-old kids who don't have a college education, not going to have anything in common with anybody. And all my buddies from college, that when they all went in, and just about every one of them got commissions in either the Air Force or the Navy or the Army or the Marine Corps or something like that. So I go and I interview. Interview. That's the right term. That's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? I put on a coat and tie, and I had real short hair at the time, and well groomed and everything. I knew how to do all that. And that morning I went downtown St. Louis, which is back then, all the recruiting offices were in pretty much the same couple of buildings in downtown St. Louis, government buildings. So I talked to the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. And all of them were very interested. They all wanted me to sign up, but none of them could really tell me anything definite. I never felt like I really understood anything. And I always felt like, ever since I was a young kid during World War II, I always thought I was a Marine. Everybody wanted to play war. They wanted to be in the Army. I wanted to be in the Marine. I was the only guy who wanted to be a Marine. So that afternoon, I go to lunch. After lunch, it's a little after 1 o'clock. I walk in the Marine Corps recruiting office. Step in the door, and there's this big room there, and I kind of stop, to get my bearings, get myself oriented. And there's a gunny sergeant. He's in dress class C, which is blue trousers with the red stripes, khaki shirt, tie, tons of ribbons on his chest. And he's standing behind this desk, and he's talking to 3 young guys. And I could tell, they weren't dressed very well, and just had casual clothes on, and I could tell that they were young. I guess just out of high school or whatever. And I heard him say, "Excuse me, gentlemen." He walks around the desk, comes up to me, and he says, "Sir, the major would like to talk with you." I'm thinking, whoa, the major wants to talk with me. So what do I do? I got to think quick on my feet, right? So I said, okay, or something like that. So he takes me to an office in the back, introduces me to this major. He was also looking pretty sharp, this is a real Marine. And I can't remember his name to save my life. But anyway, I talked with him for an hour and a half. He explained everything that you could think of. He explained it to me, when I would go, what I would do, when I could get commissioned as an officer and everything. Because you see, this gunnery sergeant, who is the recruiter there, they have a quota to get Marines, but they also have a quota to get officers, Marine officers, right? And he looked at me and thought, hey, suit and tie, a little bit older, college boy, he's officer material. We get him to the major right away, right? So the next morning they set me up. I go and I take my physical, I pass it. They cut me orders, and I go to Quantico, Virginia. And my orders are read to be in the 22nd Officers Candidate course. Get there on Sunday. We don't have, this is not like what the enlisted guys go through at Parris Island with the yellow footprints or anything. We just show up, we got our orders in our hand. We show up, and we're assigned to the various platoons. I was assigned to the A Company 1st Platoon. I walk in there, and I'm in there, and I'm kind of putting my stuff away, and in walks in this guy, and I look, and I said, Dave Vest, what in the hell are you doing here? I always call him Dave. He always called me Muckler. He said, Muckler, where'd you come from? You know. So anyway, we ended up in the same squad, first platoon of A Company. We went through officers candidate course together. He always said he never would have made it if it wouldn't have been for me. I kind of felt the same way about him, but without getting into a lot of detail, now we're like brothers. I mean, we're going through this together. The guys you go through with, you're so close, you can't believe how close you are. You're brothers. So we end up, we do everything together. When we got on 7 June of 1958, 10 o'clock in the morning, we were all there. There were 33 out of the 48 that started, made it through to get commissioned in our platoon. We stood there side by side and took the oath to defend and support our country and Constitution, et cetera, et cetera. You guys know all about that, right? But Dave Vest, when he signed up for the.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
You mentioned about the swearing in ceremony. If I'm not mistaken, didn't our administration make exceptions now for the folks coming in that they don't have to take the swearing in process?
I'm not aware of that. I know that they've lessened the qualifications or the requirements. Like the Navy, for example, you used to have to be like a high school graduate. You don't have to be anymore. But no, and what I'm referring to now is I took the oath to be an officer in the United States Marine Corps. So I'm not so sure about that, Randy. And there's so many stories floating around, and there's so much BS floating around that nobody can keep up with all of it. But in any case, Dave Vest and I are stand side by side, take the oath, right? Dave is going to Pensacola to flight school. I remember, I asked about flight school, but I couldn't pass the eye exam. My left eye was like 20/30 or something like that. So anyway, at about noon that time, we loaded up. I had a car. Dave didn't have a car, and the two of us drove back to St. Louis. He was from St. Louis, and from there, we were off. We had, I guess, a week or two until the next school starts. So I went back to Quantico. He went to Pensacola. So he goes to flight school. He's in Pensacola. That's about a year and a half thing as a young Marine second lieutenant. I go through 9 months of basic officer school, and I applied for aviation, and I got aviation. What they did is they sent me to Tyndall Air Force Base in Panama City, Florida. So I go to school down there for 6 months. Well, Panama City's like 90 miles east of Pensacola. So Vest now is in Pensacola. I'm in Panama City. So every weekend, it was a lot easier for me. I would take off on Friday afternoon, drive over to Pensacola, meet with Dave, and the two of us would spend the weekend together. He had a place that he was staying at, and I just kind of bunked out with him. So, we probably did some things that, young Marine officers do that we shouldn't do, like going out and probably imbibing in adult beverages and chasing after girls or whatever the heck we were doing, you know. So anyway, from there, I get sent to Hawaii, overseas duty, because Hawaii is not a territory, it's not a state. And that's a 3-year tour of duty. And Dave gets through flight school, and he's flying in a squadron out of El Toro, California. I actually was on a exercise where we were like the forward air defense control unit for this operation, and I actually controlled Dave when he was flying his squadron out of California. We were set up on San Clemente Island, which is uninhabited, but they put us there on the island to set up our radar and everything. So anyway, then Dave went out to Japan, and he went by ship. And when they came through Hawaii at Pearl, he was overnight there. I went down and picked him up, and they had an Hawaiian shirt for him. We went out and saw the sights, so to say, until about 3 a.m. So anyway, I ended up leaving active duty in the middle of 62. Dave decided to stay in. And I guess if I had known that he was going to stay in, I probably would have stayed in too. But anyway, Dave ended up in Vietnam. Dave flew 38 combat missions in Vietnam, got a Bronze Star, Combat V, and became quite an accomplished aviator. Back then, the Top Gun school was just getting started for all the Navy pilots, naval aviators. Well, the Marine pilots are naval aviators. We go through flight school at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola, right? Dave Vest is the first Marine, and this is quite an honor, to be assigned to Top Gun school. So he goes to Top Gun school, passes, honors in Top Gun school. Dave also becomes the Marine Aviator of the Year. They select, one pilot to be the Aviator of the Year. He's the #1 aviator in the Marine Corps that year. And then he gets promoted to major. We're captains, major, and then lieutenant colonel, and becomes a squadron commander of the 531, the Gray Ghost Squadron. His squadron, he's there, he's a CO for 2 years. His squadron becomes the Marine Corps Fighter Squadron of the Year. So this guy's got all kinds of accolades. He won't tell anybody anything. I mean, he's, I had to dig all this stuff out. So anyway, we kind of, were separated, and he was still in the Marine Corps, and then he settled in California and ended up getting a law degree and ended up going to Pensacola. And he came over and visited, stayed with me, and when I was living in St. Augustine. So we kept real close together. Dave passed away in August. And this is another thing. I was born in 1935 on August 13th. His birthday was August 31st of 1935. So, I mean, we were so close together. He passed away in 2018. I went up to Pensacola to the Naval Air Station up there where they had the service for him, and he's buried on the Naval Air Station is the Barrancas National Cemetery. It's a national cemetery for veterans, right? He's buried there. So I went up there, and at the Navy chapel there, beautiful place and everything. I spoke and I gave the talk, whatever you do, the eulogy or whatever for Dave. And then And I met with his caregiver. She was there, and she came and introduced herself to me. She says, "Oh, Dave talked about you all the time. I feel like I really know you and everything." She said, "Dave left you some things." And I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah. You know, he doesn't really have any family, and he left a lot of things." So he's got all this Marine Corps memorabilia and University of Missouri memorabilia. He ended up being a lifetime alumni member. I'm a lifetime alumni member of University of Missouri. I ended up getting all this stuff, of which this cap was one of them. I got another couple more caps, but another one is like a black one that's for Marine Fighter Squadron 531, the Gray Ghost. That was a squadron that he was the commanding officer of. That was the squadron of the year. So anyway, when I wear this hat, I wear this hat in memory of my good friend Dave Best, who was like a hero to me. He was a best friend to me. No longer with us, but
now when you wear the black hat on your broadcast, the Bill Muckler Show, does that mean Dave is with you on those days?
Yeah, I wear different caps on that show. On Friday, I wear my red cap. Some days I wear my Marine Corps that cap. Sometimes I wear a cap that's a St. Louis Cardinals cap, and my grandson got me a cap that says Bill Muckler on. I said, "I can't wear this. I can't. What am I doing? Promoting myself?" He said, "Oh," he said, "I designed this cap for you, so I got to wear that cap, you know." Yeah. And so, you know, I wear different ones and so forth. I do different stuff. Sometimes I forget to put it on. Sometimes I remember when I'm halfway through the show. Whatever.
So today at 11 o'clock when you're on, what hat will you be wearing? Or do you not know yet?
This one.
That's right. I'm sorry. It's Friday. Today, I will slap myself senseless as soon as we're done.
I'm dressed and covered. I'm dressed and covered for my show at 11 o'clock this morning.
You got me. You got me. But Monday morning, if we see you wearing it won't be a red hat. So tune in, and everybody tune in Monday morning, and you'll see which hat Bill is wearing. Bill, tell us what are you going to be discussing today on the Bill Muckler Show, 11 a.m. on Bill's Facebook profile and in the Bill Muckler Show group?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about Red Friday, and you know, last Friday was the 79th remembrance of raising a flag on Mount Suribachi in Iwo Jima. So I talked about that. And I'm talking this week about the internet and AI. And I guess there's some things I want to talk a little bit about. And then let me take a couple minutes. I'm really, I don't know how to describe it, but this guy who killed this young lady, Laken Riley, in Athens, Georgia. I mean, that's like, I can't believe how far things have gone, how bad things have become. And I heard this guy, Brett Baer on Fox News, say, well, this gentleman, I said, this guy's not a gentleman, he's a thug. And well, he was arrested in New York for child endangerment, and then he fled to Athens, Georgia, to live with his brother so he could escape that. And so, well, he had this crime and that crime. That's BS. I'm calling BS on that, Dave, because this guy probably committed 10 or 12 crimes that he was never caught on, right? But he actually, and they talk about, well, he murdered. They won't say anything else. He murdered this girl, killed this girl. Well, she apparently called 911. Well, if she had time to call 911, that tells me something else was going on. I think this guy kind of jumped her when she was jogging, probably tried to rape her, because that's the kind of guy this guy is. That was his history. and she probably got the 9/11 call off while she was fighting him, and he probably got scared or whatever, and bludgeoned her with a rock or something, because they're not showing her. And apparently he just caved her whole head and face in or something like that. So this was brutal. And Biden and the Biden crime enterprise, they don't care. They won't even acknowledge it. They said, well, it's an ongoing investigation. Well, I'm calling BS on that too. What's that got to do with it? Man, every time something comes up, they got something to say about it, unless it's something that makes them look bad. Hey, the Biden crime enterprise owns this one. And that really upsets me. Now, another story that I don't know if you guys saw or not. There's a family in New York that has a son with Down syndrome. I guess they're fairly old, or not elderly, but not real young. They bought this house for $2 million next door to their other son's house. And the idea was they could move in that house, and so the two brothers could be next door to each other. The one with Down syndrome and the brother could help take care of him and stuff like that. But the family can't move into their house. You know why they can't move in their house? There's a squatter in there, and the squatter is not going to leave. And so they bought this $2 million house that they're paying for, but they can't live in it because there's a squatter in there. Now, something's wrong in this country with all, how can that be? And I'm thinking, how can, and they won't say who the squatter is, so I'm sure it's it's got to be one of these migrants from Venezuela or someplace like that, right? Or maybe there's a whole bunch of them. Who knows? That because they just say squatter, it could be 2 or 3 or 8 or 10 of them. They showed a picture of this house, beautiful home, $2 million home. People bought, can't live in it. What kind of country are we living in now, where you can't even live in the house that you own and you're paying for?
The problem, one of the biggest problems among many with this administration, is that the criminals have more rights than the innocents. And you see more and more where there's a house that doesn't have a family living 24/7, like a vacation home, a summer home, winter home, whatever, or home under construction, or you're going on vacation. And illegals, criminals can walk into that house, break into the house, whatever, and start living there. And then when the actual owners come back or realize what's going on, they're out of the house because the court system is protecting that person who stole your home. It's nuts.
Okay, Bill, I never want to cut you off, but it's 9 minutes before you go. I mean, no. I love having you on. I love listening. Like I said in the green room, I could listen to stories for hours. I could do broadcasts with you for hours, but it's 9 minutes, and I don't want you to be late.
I know, and I'm overstaying my visit. But
no, you're always welcome to take as much time as you want. Yeah. I just don't want you to be late.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to tell a story about a real American hero, Dave Vest, who, by the way, I didn't mention he also got a Purple Heart in Vietnam as well, because when he wasn't flying, he went out with the helicopter crews to pick up wounded Marines and help bring him back. As he just went as a passenger. He got wounded on one of those evacuations, and that's how he got the Purple Heart. So we're talking about, there's so many stories of so many guys, so many heroes, and we just have to remember them. So we do that on Fridays. Yep. So anyway, yep. Randy, good seeing you. Nice seeing you again. Dave, thanks for the opportunity. And I love it.
Standing invitation,
Dave. You've been awesome.
Standing invitation every Friday. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret, Bill. 62 years old, I got my first piece of plastic. I'm buying my books. I'm buying my books.
No,
Everybody-
the books are paid for. You got them
Okay.
for promoting my books
Okay.
and sharing them on all the web pages you do.
Everybody, make sure you buy the books. We're going to give them
Yeah.
some more information. But I got to, Bill, I don't want the next gen
Yeah.
people to get angry at you. So,
Okay.
and I want to get over there.
Goodbye,
I want to get over there and watch it anyway.
Okay.
All right, Bill. Always a pleasure.
Hey, Bill.
And like I said, I could have Bill here for hours and hours and hours and enjoy it. And maybe someday, maybe we'll just roll tape and then we'll edit some versions together. Anyway, the books are 2020, A Clear Vision for America, 2020, A Clear Vision for Our Future. The pair of books is $25 from 2020americabook.com. And I believe they were written in 2015. The first one was written in 2015. Information in them is as relevant now as when he wrote the book, at least some of the things in the book. Bill believes that the Department of Education should be called the Department of Indoctrination and probably eliminated. And that responsibility should go back to the states. I know he believes the IRS should be eliminated. The IRS should never have started. And that's true how I feel, although we all know I don't pay income taxes, but I'm sure I pay a lot of other taxes that go through the IRS. Anyway, coming up on 11 o'clock, Mr. Rhodes, what would you like to bring up? Do you have more time or you?
I did want to talk about a couple of things I've seen in the news feed.
Okay.
Trump and Biden both went down to the border, I think it was yesterday, at the same time, 400 miles apart. And President Trump brought up about the senseless murder of the young lady that Bill Muckler was talking about. And he lays the blame of the murder squarely on Biden's doorstep at his desk. But there's two unique takeaways. And of course, unfortunately, I have not yet found a conservative news feed that actually talks, in support of Trump. So the news feed I have been looking at, you have to, grin and bear the way the article was written. So you have two leaders. Actually, I should say, I'm going to correct that. You have one leader and one pretend leader. President Trump is at the border with Governor Abbott. Standing with him is a general from, I think, in the Army, the police force, and other dignitaries befitting a presidential visit to this situation. 400 miles away, you have Biden with some Border Patrol agents, who
were sleeping in the article I read. In the article I read, the border troopers were sleeping. They were so bored. They were so bored they were sleeping. It said, and trash was all over the place, and no one was there.
I believe that, and then I see another article where it says the Biden administration is authorizing 1,500 more soldiers to be sent to the border to secure the border in time for the end of Article 42. Well, you know what? Instead of sending damn soldiers to the border, renew the Article 42. Keep the illegals out of our country.
But isn't it more like, I'm sorry I cut you off, but I always do. I apologize, though. But isn't it more true that Biden is sending 1,500 more military officers to the border because he's Joe Biden and he needs to help these people get in?
See, not knowing what the orders are, you could be right. They could be going down there to assist in the safe transport of illegals across the River Grands or whatever the river's called, and make sure they can cut through the barbed wire, or 1,500 more federal soldiers to go against Abbott's National Guard.
Now, what if it's 1,500 more alligators? Because I've read all kinds of reading about the alligator brigade, and I actually am at the point where I have to figure out who I can go and read to, whether or not this is real. Because I think it's fantastic. Somebody on one of the posts in one of the groups said they should use landmines. And I said, well, no, because if they step on a landmine, boom, they're dead. Everybody with them is dead, which is maybe okay. But you have a landmine that you can't use anymore. You got to dig it. You got to either dig it up and get rid of it and bury another one, or just send out another alligator.
Well, and then you have the mess of cleaning up the ground around it. I saw that picture of the train, the flat rails, and you got the soldiers and strapped down as the alligator. I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But and then this whole I think it's Illinois said that Trump's name as of right now is off of the ballot, and we're election for that state is only a couple of days away. So that would be 3 states that the Biden administration has illegally removed, or an attempt to remove, Trump's name from the election. I just wonder if that stands come election day. Can they do like a mail-in ballot? Can they do a write-in his name kind of thing?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. If the majority of the voters in a state where his name has been, well, in order to you got to figure by now they've printed the ballots, because it's close enough to figuring out who. Well, he's the only candidate left, aside from Haley, or did she actually drop out?
She hasn't dropped out yet.
Okay, so Haley and Trump are the only 2 on the ballot. She doesn't stand a chance. So they probably printed ballots with his name on it and had them ready, made sure they've tested them to make sure they're legit and all. And so they got to trash those and then turn around and write new ones or print new ones without his name on it, which means that there won't be a Republican candidate's name on it, because they're not going to nominate someone else, which means it's just going to get ugly.
And the other sad thing about it is, if they do succeed in keeping his name off the ballot, you know how the left is going to spin it. Nikki Haley wins the state of Illinois.
But Nikki Haley winning the state of Illinois and not winning the state of South Carolina is not going to be enough to get her.
But you can't vote for Trump. Either no Republican shows up to vote, or they'll still show up to vote, and you still have some who are going to vote for Nikki anyways, but they'll walk away with Nikki won the election, even though maybe 60% of the people who won the vote for Trump couldn't, because his name's not on the ballot.
The problem is, I don't think Nikki can win the election. I don't think there's any way that Nikki Haley can win the election against Biden, because they'll just go back to she was his UN secretary and a terrible person then, and this, that, and the other thing. Plus, I saw a video of her the other day that said if she was president, she would actually pardon him. But pardon him just to get us past all of this and focused on where we should be focused. And I came away from that watching going, you're a rhino, you're funded by the Democrats, so what are you talking about? If you get elected, God forbid, you're just going to be a rhino. You're just going to be a rhino Democrat president.
You're in the club now with the fly flying around your face.
Yeah, but you're just going to be a rhino Democrat president who, if we're lucky enough to have both the House and the Senate will get impeached, depending on who your vice president is. Because I'm sure she doesn't get to pick a Republican vice president if she gets the nomination. I'm sure who the Democrats that are funding it are probably going to make it Michael Obama or, Hillary Clinton.
No. Yeah, well, I gotta get going. I got
all right, Randy. Well, no, I want you to, as I said yesterday on Boogie, without pushing too far over into things that may not be necessary. I understand that you may be doing something in the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday slots on Facebook, and maybe more than just Facebook. So tell everybody about that.
After last night's show, and
I'm glad you came on last night. I really am. I actually had one of the best times doing a Boogie with the Bull broadcast, and I was even more tickled because Ichabod had said he was going to be able to watch, but he wasn't going to be able to be on. That usually means that he's got it. It usually means that he has his phone and he doesn't want to take a chance on his phone not being able.
He and I were just talking just prior to your show coming on, and I think he seeing me on your show made him feel more at ease, also showing up. But not going into any details. After last night's show, I got some blast back as far as being on the show to start with.
The Southern group isn't going to make the Grand Dragon of political broadcasts.
Nothing with the South. Okay. But there were some, things said that I won't go into any details. But I do want to do the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, possibly Saturday. I need to make sure I leave time for my genealogy for my clients. Yeah. I do want to do that. The one thing I don't want to do, and I want to say this loudly and clearly. Dutch accent or no Dutch accent, as I'm being accused of having sometimes. I don't want, if I do announce in the next hour the name of the show and that I'm actually going to do it, I don't want anyone thinking that I'm trying to copy someone else's show, take away viewership from anyone else's viewership, or to step on anyone else's toes as far as the schedule. When it comes to trying to schedule a broadcast on a Facebook or a Rumble or a Twitter or an X, whatever, time frames are very limited, because you got people coming home from work, you got people eating supper, you got the family time. So the window of opportunity to try and get as many people to watch you as you can is limited. That's why when the time frame opened up, and again, if an individual steps back and says he wants that time frame back, I'll give it to him.
Okay, all right, that's as close as we want to go on that.
Yeah, no, I'm not mentioning names. No, but I wanted to make sure that if I do this, that everyone knows I'm doing it because I want to do it, and I don't want to offend or insult or step on anyone's toes or schedule. Okay. Having said that. I will make this announcement that what the hell, I'll do it now.
Do it now. Do it live on my show. That way I can take the blame.
Breaking news! Randy Rhodes of All Roads Lead Home Genealogy and On the Road to Dixie, which is to announce the broadcast of Voices for Freedom. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, possibly Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern with Daryl Rector, Dave Globin, Mickey Young, Jen Woodruff, and
did I get a contract? Did I get a contract?
There's no contracts. No money, no contracts, no handicap practice. But I don't give you a walk 5 miles to get to my studio. Which this is Studio C, by the way. I got another studio set up for the broadcast. But yeah, and it's going to be political. It's going
If
to
you
be
don't put a
conservative.
conservative flag behind you in your studio, I'm going to put one on the desk and I'm going to wave it every time I think I need to.
Conservative flag. Which would you consider being a conservative flag?
I meant to say Confederate. I will take the Boogie with the Bull mug, and on the back side it'll say Boogie with the Bull Uncensored with a conservative flag on it. Confederate flag on it.
Yeah.
And then I will get shot.
I don't want this broadcast to reflect off of the one for Sunday or my genealogy. I want it to be unique to itself. So I'm going to create a artificial background, which I think would be pretty neat. So having said that, I got content for tonight. There's a couple of the people I mentioned are not going to be able to be there, but they're going to try. Yeah. I know Nikki Young is going to be there. I guess you, if you show up,
I will try. I will try to be there. I don't know how long I can be because
he'll be there.
Yeah, my dementia meds got moved to a nighttime schedule, and that makes me want to be asleep about 8:30. Which makes me want to be awake at 1 o'clock in the morning. So, if you're ever thinking about doing a show at 1 o'clock in the morning, I could probably be there every night of the week.
Trust me, I understand the medication. I'm on the verge of coming off all my meds. I'm pain meds, okay?
Yeah.
Because I had 4 knee replacements due to stupid surgeons. But I know when I take my one medicine, it knocks me out. And then
matter of fact, we could probably do a broadcast about that on either one of the two broadcasts, and probably carry it over to the other broadcast just to keep everybody informed and invite other people. But I mean there's a lot of broadcasts in that.
So tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, at least 1 hour, 2 if things go well as far as content. I don't want to just drag on a conversation for a point of making a 2-hour program, but hopefully between us we have enough content to talk about. Once she was out, and Jen's gonna be there, so I'm sure she's gonna bring a lot of good content with as well.
Good, I'm glad.
So see what happens.
I will try very hard to be there, and if I'm not watching, I'll be in the live chat. I mean, if I'm not on camera, I will be in the live chat.
So shake hands.
Shake hands. Would you like the honors of igniting your own parachute today?
No, that hurts the back too much. I'm just going to say, have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too, Randy.
Enjoy what's left of our freedoms, because come November, who knows where we're going to be at.
Right. All right, Randy. Take care. All roads lead to Home Genealogy Services, which is also a group on Facebook, I believe. The host of The Road to Dixie, which is currently running on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern. I don't know where that show will land. Hopefully it will become part of the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday slots that Randy is doing with Political Patriot Broadcasting, and then add in the 2 Boogie with the Bulls Tuesday and Thursday that we do. And I was talking to the owner of another social media network that I know, and I said, hey, what if I had a week of 7 p.m. Eastern broadcasting that's all political? 4 shows with a group of people that sometimes I'm there and sometimes I'm not. And 2 nights a week that I'm on, and sometimes they're with me. And, things go. It is time, as William Rayfield said in the live chat comments. So you guys made up. We did make up last night. I had asked Jen Woodruff, the ambassador of peace for Boogie with the Bull, to be on the broadcast and kind of help me in that direction. And I thought about it a lot last night. And it's time, really. I did a broadcast on it recently, I think last Sunday, during the day that said it's really time for the everybody to get together. And I'll even ruin it by saying get together and do our broadcasts and come together when we need to or when we can and get our broadcasts out. There's so much information that needs to get out. There are so many people out there thirsty for either a nudge in the direction that they need to go or maybe something that will open up their mind and let them decide for themselves what they need to do. And I'm 62 years old, and I don't know how much time I got left that I will be able to do this. I enjoy doing it, but it's just time to be able to break bread with people anytime and have fun and do our stuff. Like I had said to Randy last night with Randy and Ichabod and Jen, I think was actually one of the best Boogie broadcasts, even though I, over dramatize every time I interrupt people. But I'm actually working on that. I really am. But it was a good broadcast. And I hope that we can have those people on. We did invite William Rayfield last night. And I'm sure we will hear what adventures William had going yesterday. I still want to get him on very quickly so that we can talk about his 9 p.m. broadcast the other night. So we are going to wrap it up because I got to wrap it up. And I wasn't sure how late Randy could be here. Plus, there are 45 minutes left of the Bill Muckler show over on the Bill Muckler Facebook profile and in the Bill Muckler show group. So you should go watch that and you should go share that. And that's about all I got to say. So look around 7 o'clock tonight, Eastern time. Adjust yourself accordingly. Join Randy Rhodes and Nikki Young and Jen Woodruff and possibly myself for some of it and a whole lot of others. And share it and let everybody know and let everybody decide if they like it and if it's something that they will watch. And I hope they will. Anyway, I'm Dave Goldman. You're not. This is part of the broadcast where I say you have been watching Boogie with the Bull Friday Morning Caffeine, a copyrighted presentation of the No Budget Broadcasting Company. And we will end it all at that point right there. It is Red Friday. Remember, everybody deployed, both foreign and domestic, those that went foreign and never came back to domestic, those that are just domestic and are no longer here serving, as well as those who are here serving. If you see a service member or if you see a service member wearing a hat or wearing a t-shirt or wearing a jacket, if you can, politely go up to them and as well as offering your thanks for their service, ask them what they did. Sometimes some of them, their ears would just beam. Their faces would just beam because they can tell you how proud they are of what they did and who they did it for. And on that note, I'm Dave Bloom and you're not. We're going to hit this one, double B's for victory. This Boogie with the Bull broadcast is going to come to an end. We're going to hit this one. And by the time I say it, this